Good, remember. Nicely done,
All
Adam.
right, thank
Think
you.
of it ahead of time, but never at
Yes,
the time.
thank you so much.
I can always, I have video editing cover, so we're.
Oh, good to know.
Segment out.
Okay.
Was there an agenda she passed out?
You want one of these? So we knew they had a deadline, and initially they were thinking they had to be a Pioneer at 6, so we jumped right in, but
No.
we came up with
that
an
was-
alternative,
no,
so
I
that
don't-
worked out
I
well.
didn't mind at all.
What's wrong with you, Alan?
No, it's different weeks, it's terrible.
Really?
Yeah, it's a respiratory thing and I just have such a hard time breathing. I actually was on the phone today trying to figure out. So it's hard sleeping at night. I've got my nebulizer that I'm using. I got 3 things that are supposed to be getting this. You ever hear of Trelegy?
Well,
It's no, not the, if I'm saying it right. It's an inhaler thing that you open up and you breathe in the
Yeah.
white powder.
Is it helping?
Nebulizer.
Well, I have that.
I
No,
think you mullein. Mullein tea.
What's that?
It's an herb
Oh.
and it's very good at opening up airways.
Yeah,
I'll bring these inside.
Really, I'm getting desperate.
you could also,
Fine.
you can also smoke it too in a house that,
Yes, which is really weird that
yeah.
smoking it would help clear your
True,
airways.
no BS, true, but,
Well,
so it's a plant that you grow all, you see it all over the place around here.
I can't even imagine trying to inhale something in my lungs.
It does,
Well, then you can try the tea if you're too nervous.
Well, thank you for that.
Yeah, I harvested it quite a bit. This
Yeah, it's
past
funny
year.
because I had this, are we meeting next week? I put next week on the 12th. We are meeting the 12th. For some reason, I didn't write
Because of the
down
budget stuff?
today.
Yeah, and because we'll have February vacation, that we'll be skipping over right in the
Right.
middle of budget
Right, I
season.
did a double. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, that totally went over.
if you want to keep cooking, so we don't keep you up too late, we could go to the meeting minutes next.
Which meeting?
We have minutes to approve.
Oh, no, yeah, no, we can, once you're on a roll and I don't have to talk as much, that would.
All right, I'll keep going then.
Talking, I'm gonna start talking a lot.
Just want a cup of water. Cough drop,
You have cough drops?
I think.
Yeah,
I'll run and get
that
one.
would be home.
Let me just send fit the place. She's gonna
What have you
join
done
us.
so far?
Oh, we jumped right into Pioneer, so that's all.
Oh, thank you. Trying to cover.
What kind, would you like us to go over the minutes first while you're doing
Oh,
that?
Sure,
All right.
thank you.
Does anybody want a minute to look at the minutes?
If I could have a minute. Why don't you go on and could we come back to them in a bit? Because
Sure, I was just
I
looking for
can
something easy.
multitask. Something else. too.
So Carol is gonna reach out to Faye because we'll be talking to Faye as well.
Mhm.
The next thing on the agenda has you talking, Ellen, if you have anything for updates.
No,
Okay. I don't think we have anything for transportation. Cruising along, so to speak.
Your report,
Oh,
that'd be a good thing to cover.
Yeah.
you're giving me a minute. Well, shall I go ahead and do that?
If you're ready.
Uh, There's a lot happening as always. One of the things that's really good is that the council is looking at the policy about out-of-state tuition. It looks like with all of their edits, it should be possible. But I'm gonna bring it to you to see next week.
So did you say
Great.
council?
Yes.
So
council.
Russell had,
Russell's brother
Adam, all right, I
has
know.
completely rewritten it, and Faye and I looked at it. And,
Okay.
a lot of folks are.
So when you first talked to him, did he have
When
reservations?
Russell first looked, he said, I'm not sure. I think this needs some work. Adam,
Okay.
he had the same reaction
Yeah.
as you did. And then there was like a big pause.
Yeah,
Mhm.
okay.
but, you know, they've sent it to me with a lot
That's
of
great.
redlining and, um,
Did he indicate it would be feasible to, and as
yes,
part of that process, they would write with that, I'm gonna call it a legal form of permission, you know, that the
yes.
parents sign off on
Yes,
what.
there would be an MOU. And I'm actually getting a copy, a similar MOU for us to look at.
That's great. All right, thank you.
That's very helpful.
And so I just wanted to update you to, even though it's not a full
It's all right. Thanks for
update.
keeping it going.
Um, yeah, I mean, gonna try to really focus on getting this home rule passed. When we were talking to the parents last week, they were really excited to helpful. Was thinking, you know, maybe we could have sort of a, I don't know, school choice working committee. Didn't know if any of you would be really interested. One of the things that I'm gonna do is put some tablets together for families, for community members, just to be using to know what should you put in a letter that would be reviewed. So just send me an email if you feel interested. We'll look at another section of the budget in a little while. The next thing that I have, I was gonna have Betty join. Let me text. Do you want to do the minutes while I'm ready?
Yeah, I'm ready, thank you. So I move that we approve the January 22nd.
I second.
No. I didn't circle it. There was one.
I didn't catch it, I think it was.
No. Any further discussion? All right, we're all here, so all in favor say aye.
I,
And I'll say aye, so that is unanimous. And now that we're getting into the nitty gritty of things, I didn't ask Miranda if she's willing to do notes based on the. So can you send these, can you check with Miranda and give, well, actually, you put it in my thing, so I'd have to give her the link, right? Can you just let me know when you upload the video? And I'll check with Miranda. If she doesn't have time to do the notes, then I will review the video and do it off of that. I'm not like, I can't do it the way she does it.
Thank
That's
you
amazing.
very much.
She does a perfect job.
Because she's fully engaged.
Yeah,
Yes,
Like she's
taking
ready.
quick notes.
yeah.
And that's amazing.
um. So that is minutes. And then Carol, we also just had updates on here. Any news when you might hear back on the Farm Fresh grant? That's.
Yeah. I was thinking that we're gonna care about it.
When you correct the agenda, put down approval of the 22nd. Because these are 1, 2, 25 on the agenda.
Oh, yep. So, yep, February 5th minutes were approved. And then we already talked about home rule. Nothing on transportation. Yeah, I took a quick look at the month-to-month calendar review. Thank you for including that, whoever thought of it, and Adam for doing it. Yeah, because we also have to start thinking about mid-year superintendent, which wouldn't have occurred to me without
I
reviewing.
know,
So I'm
it
just
really is super helpful.
pointing those out.
So you're thinking we follow the same process we did last year then on the superintendent's review? You'll come in with a your targets and your goals, and then we'll,
Okay,
does that something make sense?
it does, it does. And the mid-year is a lighter touch. We had, we
Right.
definitely take more time at the end of the year.
Yeah,
but-
right. It's kind of an
Yeah.
update.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Progress monitoring with me.
Okay.
It's
We have basically.
good.
And then we don't have any budget transfers, right?
Attorney
Tonight.
Yeah.
And
He just has to. Oh, there she is.
In transportation, there was nothing.
Hi, Faye,
Hi there.
for joining us.
Not a problem.
Just so everyone knows, Faye was just here and raised home to join us online.
Gave
It's
me a
good.
chance to drive home. Thank you.
It's really good to see you. I don't know if you all have had a chance to see Faye since we had the results of the audit. I don't know if
no,
want to.
thank you very much for all of that hard work and a very impressive result.
Well,
Not that we're always going to get perfection, but the combination of fulfilling that huge project and the results you got this early in our school careers, very impressive. Thank you.
it's a great way to start the school career and the school have all those documents. And it was truly a team effort. I just kind of put it all together by working with all the different people. So it was, and what a great team.
But your experience and your knowledge just shines
Well, thank
very
you.
well.
Thank you. It's helpful to have been through those experiences with Desi before. When you're,
Yeah.
Definitely.
but I must say that Desi is approaching them in a much more collaborative work with a district way than they used to. So,
Oh, that's good to hear.
Who did you work with there?
gee, I'm trying.
Bob O'Donnell or who?
Sandra, wasn't it?
Sandra Hainig, I think is her last name.
Hainig.
Right. So, yeah, I've worked with her before many years ago, so we knew each other. But what you find in Western Mass, people just kind of rotate. So
Yeah.
it's like the same people in different places.
Was telling them, Faye, how she said the only negative was that we'd done so well, she didn't have any reason to come back.
Yeah. So she enjoyed her, her time working with us, and she really enjoyed the visit to the school and seeing how education is provided for our students, because it's not what she sees most places.
All right, well, thanks so much for joining us. There's two pieces that was going to Faye be here to offer her input. So one of the things that's come to my attention, both from Faye and also from Russell, is it really is important to have counsel that really has expertise in special education and Title IX. And, Faye has incredible expertise. Russell and his whole family has a lot of expertise. The special education and Title IX laws, even in the past 2 weeks, have been changing. And both Faye and Russell have suggested that we have someone, if we have some sort of unusual circumstance, that we should have ready to answer any questions. So there's a person that Faye and I would like to recommend to you that Faye's been working with for years. Would you say a little bit about Michael?
Sure. So just let me say that I've worked with a number of different attorneys on special ed issues, and I think Michael and his firm, that is their area of focus. So they're not trying to do everything. They're doing that one piece. And so in my discussions with Russell, who I know well and have worked with, and he and his firm has a lot of expertise, he was the one who said on certain issues that were needed a little more kind of looking into on a different lens, to check with an attorney who really focuses on special education. So Michael Joyce, I think if he was here to introduce himself, he'd do a much better job. But I think a couple things really kind of bring him to the focus. First of all, I think he talks to people so people can understand. And sometimes attorneys forget that not everyone speaks their language. So he talks in a way that makes sense to people. He started with his work. Well, I don't know if he started with it, but early on in his work, he was a teacher. So he really knows schools from working in schools as a teacher. And later on, and as he changed and became a lawyer, he also worked for the Department of Office of Civil Rights. And so one of the things that we know in special education, although sometimes complaints are handled at the state level through the Bureau of Special Education Appeals or the problem resolution system, there are times that somebody may say that we are potentially violating civil rights. And at that point, they file with the Office of Civil Rights. I don't know if any of you have ever had the opportunity to work with and have to engage with the Office of Civil Rights, but it's a much more intensive, complex process than when you have an issue and you're just dealing at the state level. So I always say they're very, very nice people who work in the Office of Civil Rights, but I really don't want them coming to visit us. They can
I would
find
agree 100%.
Yes,
Yeah.
other
we're
places.
trying to avoid
I
that.
know what that's like. I'll leave it at
Okay,
that.
so you know what I'm talking about then. So Michael's background in working with the Office of Civil Rights really enables him when he's thinking about situations and circumstances or trying to direct us for how to create our structures and systems. He is also keeping that in mind to make sure not just are we paying attention to Massachusetts laws and regulations, but we're paying attention to the federal ones as well. And I think that gives him a area of expertise that most attorneys just don't come to this work with. He does amazing professional development trainings for teachers, for administrators, for all sorts of related service personnel. And both Stephen and I have been attending a number of his legal trainings through the Massachusetts Partnerships for Youth, which we're a member of. And he does that. So on all the topics, on 504, on bullying and on discipline, all of the topics that we need to know about. And he does it through that. And because we're a member, we can attend all these trainings at no additional cost other than our membership. So he keeps in mind that we are a small district with very limited financial resources and says, don't have me come to a training. Don't have me do it for you. Go on this site and join this training. And then he's always accessible through that organization to answer any follow-up questions. So we have found him to be an incredible resource, but in Warwick, but I've also had that experience with him for years in the district where I used to work. Is that enough, Carol? Do you want anybody have questions?
Questions, Steve?
I just hit the main page for them, the last thing my on
Thanks, Pat.
link.
I think I'll just add one piece about his fee structure, and this is not the piece that I know very well, but Michael's firm charges an hourly rate. And if you only are talking, like some attorneys, even when you talk to them for 5 minutes, you get billed for an hour. That's not how he works. So he really looks to try to be attentive to all districts, even ones that have a much larger financial resource than we do. But for us, he understands that like every dollar really makes a huge difference for our kids.
Well, one of the nice things about Durham and the way the laws work is there's an exception for attorneys, so the school committee doesn't have to go through that process. Or, give you permission to engage in the legal services of this law firm. So, if that's where we're heading, you're looking for a motion, I'd be happy to entertain one. So I would entertain a motion to have Carol, well, it's for the school committee, but you certainly would do it, that we retain the services of Michael Joyce, of Natal McAvoy, and Joyce, Faye, and Russell. No,
Oh, just.
just that, yeah. For the remainder of this fiscal year, at an hourly rate of, what did I read, $240, is that what it was?
Yeah.
Yeah, 240, prorated.
Yes.
Yeah, no, and if a contract just for the end of this year is fine, I think that we should make sure that so I will second.
Yeah.
Do you want me to move it or second?
I'll second.
Well, I entertain it, so you can move it.
I
It's your
moved it.
motion. It's your motion.
So I moved what he said. I support that, and we've got a second then from Janet. And we'll just have to make sure to build that in to the budget, so we know where it's as
Yeah.
much about the amount as it is about knowing where it goes.
Yes, completely.
Now, does he send us an engagement letter? How does that work on his end?
That's a good question. I'm not sure. Perhaps.
I think-
However that has to happen.
Yeah,
We'll
we'll make it
have
happen.
that so it's on file.
Yeah.
Usually
Okay.
it's an engagement letter,
Yeah.
provide the services. And kind of.
Fantastic. Okay, thank you very much. One other piece.
Can I just in case, because my thinking is, and if it requires the signature of the chair, I'd be authorized to sign that engagement. Is that okay to amend that?
Yes,
motion?
so-
Did, okay,
Yes.
all right.
Yeah,
Right.
perfect. So one other thing that involves Faye, so she can get to dinner or hanging around with her husband. One of the policies that we have is for putting a grant you need to approve. There's a very small amount of additional funds that we receive from DESI. It's focus. Remember in the beginning of the school year, they came to talk to you about the fact that there's a new IEP. Because there's a new IEP, it's not just, saying there's a new IEP, there's then all this paperwork and training that has to go on to support this transition. The state of Massachusetts put us a very small amount to support that transition. So there's something in your packets that they wrote, but Faye, do you want to just sort of give voice to
Yeah, let me give voice to it so you can
Okay.
read all those words later on if you want.
Okay.
So it's called the 274 grant. Just that's the what DESI gives it as a number. It's been around for a number of years, and it's really a grant funds that are periodically assigned to some type of special project from the state. So as Carol said, I think it was the spring of last year, because of the new IEP improvement project, DESI had put in some funds for allocations to districts to use to train people to get familiar with and skilled with using the new IEP. So we've allocated all those funds. Those had to be used by the end of September of last year. And what DESI realized from their meetings with us and from their office hours is that was a good start, but there was a lot more to do. And so they allocated additional funds this time, and they decided on their allocation based upon the number of students in a district. So given that we are who we are and so tiny, our allocation was $2,500 for this second time. First time around, it was $5,000. And what we just recently submitted, and we don't have final approval from them yet, but we recently submitted our proposal of how to spend our $2,500 to be able to use that to support clerical and admin assistance in the developing the skills for using our data for reporting. So we will be able to look at, other than kind of individually, pulling reports out of our software system as to our students in terms of their placement, in terms of full inclusion, partial inclusion. What we want to do is really make sure that other than when we're doing each IEP, that when we're looking at our data, that our students with disabilities are also having access to the general education learning environment, to be educated in the least restrictive environment. So all that data lives in the software system, but learning how to pull the reports and doing the reports to be able to give them to myself, to Carol, to Stephen, and then to share them out with staff to say, oh, look, as you're writing these new IEPs using this new way of kind of thinking of in a much more student-centered approach, are we seeing a difference in our data? And we will also we're close to getting it finalized. We've been working on our data dashboard, which we've been able to fund through our SEL and mental health grant. So all this data will live in one place. It'll be easily accessible for the student support team as well as administrators to really be able to look and see, are we moving in the right direction? Or do we feel like we're moving in the right direction, but we have to get better in a certain area? So that's where, and I think the funds again will go through September. So they're certainly not a lot of money, but every little bit will help, and we will be able to train our staff to be able to use PowerSchool special programs in a way that will generate these reports for us. So any questions?
I'm gonna try to keep it real short, because because of time, and this is probably a global subject, but, so if the focus is now, which I thought it always was, on, students, and the IEPs were focused on the needs of the student, is this about getting better at looking at data and making those adjustments to what they're doing, or is it trying to write the IEP in such a way that's different than before, that makes sure it's focused? I just want to be clear.
So a little bit of both, but I would flip them to say it's about writing the IEP with the
Yeah.
lens of saying all students, whether students with a disability or not, are first and foremost general education students. And so we have to approach the thinking and the writing of the IEP with that in mind. And that's a whole new theory of action with the IEP Improvement Project. Not that it shouldn't have been there before, you're right, but I think it's crafted in a way this now to ensure that in a more structured, systematic way. And then what we need to be able to do is, when we have these different IEPs, is to pull the data from there to say, how many students are partial inclusion? How many are full inclusion? I know when I first came to Warwick, the beginning of this year, that was one of the first things I did. And because there was such a small amount of students, I just went through every IEP and I did it. And I was like, there's a little more C-grid service here than I think maybe we could kind of really adjust our thinking to be able to think about least restrictive environment. And so this, by being able to pull the reports and having them ongoing, we'll be able to keep our finger on that data point.
And do you think that Desi would expand that to have what I think is lacking in many of the educational programs that I'll call them, I hate calling them regular education teachers, but all teachers should have some core content on how they are teaching all the kids, if we're going to have this inclusive model. That's a major missing piece. So if Desi knows that and recognizes that, then that needs to be going to the colleges and universities in terms of what's required in the certification process.
Well, you're right in line with what I think. And I think it would be wonderful if DESE would build that into their licensure system. And even better if when young people go off to college to become a teacher, if dual certification was just the norm.
Yeah.
Because diverse learning styles, we all have diversity in our learning style. And teachers have to be able to, when they have a classroom full of different individuals, be able to know how to instruct the groups and the individuals for positive outcomes. So I think we have a long way to go. I'm not sure we're on track for getting there right now, but it would be a place I would like to go. And I think, we're fortunate in our small school here. We have, I think, 2 of our teachers out of, what do we have, a total of 5 or 6 teachers? 2 of them are dual certified in special ed and general ed. So we probably have a better percentage than most.
For
So
sure.
I appreciate those comments, and just, we can move on, but food for thought. We're responsible for the professional development.
Mhm.
So we should be thinking about providing that to all our teachers so we can start to fill in that gap. So they meet their certification requirements, but we're really expanding their ability to address the needs of all kids. All right.
Well, that's good food for thought. I will say, and Carol and I can follow up, in my previous district, and we used funds that we were able to gather from another grant, that we developed an in-district training program for personnel to go get their competencies so they could apply for their special ed certification. So it's not that complicated to do.
Great, that's great, thank you.
Thanks.
So, would you entertain a vote to, what you're voting on is accepting
Grant?
the grant.
Yeah.
Is it 270, 240,
270?
274?
274.
274 grant. Is that all part of this 2.5, 20, 25, 274 grant description?
Yeah.
Yes.
So
That's
I
right.
entertain a motion that we accept that grant.
So I move that we accept that grant once it's, because we haven't gotten the final official approval. But can we
Right.
vote on
That's
that before we
right.
get?
No, we can, if it's awarded to our
Yeah.
district.
Yeah,
And
I
the
vote-
amount of, which, 2,500?
2,500.
And then authorize the chair to sign.
Yeah, good point, if that's
Yeah,
required.
so let me wrap that up. So I move that we accept once awarded the 274 grant for 2,500 to support data and the new IEP, and authorize the chair to sign any related paperwork.
Perfect. Thanks.
Got a second?
A second.
Janice.
Thank you all.
Hey, thanks for coming, Faye.
Thank you.
So, and have a good evening. And if snow really does come, please be careful tomorrow. Snow is not the issue, ice, but be careful if that happens. So
You too. You too.
thank you. Take care.
Thank
Have
you
a good
for everything
evening.
you're doing, thank you.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
All right. Yeah.
So now we need to vote. So am I turn?
Yeah, you are.
Okay.
These clock drops are working, so thank you.
Any further discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. So that is unanimous.
Sorry, Apple just cancels still around.
How much it was gonna,
Uh,
and I thought, oh, the snow day.
Yeah, well, the timing,
The timing.
because it may not start until 9, but you know it's coming.
Yeah, what are you doing those days? I mean, that's the
Can't.
toughest as a super.
I mean, usually both Patricia and I really like to wait. We talk at 4 in the morning.
Yep, that's what
It's
it's.
time to talk.
It's,
You may
it's
want-
really exhausting.
I think you have to roll.
It does change the nature of the conversation.
Just all
Thinking,
school off.
I
Really
think
do.
in this case that I'm gonna do it. I just talked to her. She's still gonna wait till 4. Yeah, that's the situation that I always try to avoid.
Yeah, because when you have a mismatch now, you have a mismatch later.
Sometimes
But
it
it's-
goes around us, but it looked like it was gonna be 100%.
Yeah.
You also have to think about your after-school program if you end up staying in for the day, whether you want to cancel that early.
I think for sure, no after school.
I've made a
If there
mistake.
isn't school, there's no after school
Yeah,
program.
No,
I've made a mistake once in a while, having school
Yeah.
and then the storm coming and
Yeah.
now I'm trying
Yeah.
to get kids home.
Yeah.
And boy, I've regretted it.
One night in Cambridge, I had the kids at the school with me till 9 p.m.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because the
Oh,
bus.
So when it's an ice storm
Uh,
and it's pretty short,
Yeah.
I'd rather have parents get upset with us a little
Yeah.
bit because we canceled than to
uh,
have cars going out.
Right,
Yeah.
right, absolutely.
well, really, it starts 100% at 9 AM.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And then it goes right through till sunset.
yeah.
So we'll
So I
support,
don't see that that's,
Okay.
even
Yeah.
if the sun comes out.
Yeah, sounds good.
actually, it does slow down though.
It slows
You
down, but
never
right when it
know.
slows down, you're at risk of
Yeah.
ice. And that's,
Yeah, it's too risky.
Do you want,
A too
1:30?
late, but yes.
I suppose it would be
Is that
hard for them
right?
to
The
keep the roads clear.
I know. Was telling me he was running short on salt the other day too.
We have
Yes.
salt
Really?
now,
Okay,
we
good.
have sand.
It
Good.
said at 2, it's only 70%, and then 3, it's 60, and then 4, it's 40%. But still, they're not gonna be able to open up all the
Yeah.
roads
yeah.
Yeah,
and treat them if they need to.
yeah.
The trouble with that is you put down the sand and then it's ice over that and you're,
It's sand.
Well, the sand really helped the white road, I'll tell you that. I'm so glad they sanded it.
yep.
But I would say that your after school program, whether you have school or not, is probably gonna need to be canceled either way.
Perfect. Yeah,
drive it?
sure. Maybe.
Yeah, because we're on the revenue tab. And I don't think we're ready to look at the revenue tab. So I think that's there. Yeah, that's what you're on.
Alrighty, so, do you wanna talk to me? It's just everything that we looked at last week.
Yeah, and did she make the adjustments that we had? But that's 1:30. She didn't have time to
I
make the
don't think that
adjustments.
she didn't make those.
Okay.
Yeah.
I almost wonder if we should just,
Do you want to just do
Do it
on
next week.
Sure.
so we had, last week we had,
That might be better.
Let's
yeah, and
do
Miranda's
it.
not here either.
Right.
So,
Yeah, that's
and while she
fine.
didn't join us, we
Yeah.
ended up having a very small conversation, but we were just talking about the two sections, 301, which is
District.
district-wide, and 308, which is middle school, high school, and middle school, high school transportation.
Right.
I think we'll actually, maybe by next week, we'll have an even clearer idea of where transportation is, because transportation does have a percentage increase every year.
Yep.
And it's based on, what is it called, how the economy's doing through February 1st. That's how the contract is written. So, well, I think we'll have more information if this group doesn't mind waiting until next
Yeah,
week.
so I think that's a great suggestion.
Okay.
We, we can review this, we can become familiar with it,
Yeah.
and then any updates will be much more meaningful.
And for those of you that haven't picked it up while you're here, after our last discussion about the budget, I did then, because Carol had asked me if I could do it ahead of time, and I didn't quite get to it quick enough, and I wasn't working that day. But I do have a large printout that's colorized, and I don't think you or Janice have picked yours up yet. Oh, I don't know if you got yours,
No,
but it's in the mailbox.
Oh, thank you. Oh,
Yeah.
that's great.
So
Yeah.
it won't include the changes that we have for next week.
Oh,
but
and the
it'll
general
give you-
mailbox for school committee?
Yeah.
Okay.
Got it.
Plus, the thing to know, attached to the email from is the whole FY26 budget. So, if this is sort of difficult to look at,
Yes,
can feel free to see it as an attachment.
okay,
you
and
prefer to
who's
see-
getting, who sent that?
Sent it
Oh.
for me today.
Very funny, we talked about Adam Dupre.
That's okay, I know.
I see doing the budget.
Yeah, and then the version before that is in your mailbox printed out, but on a big piece of.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. Yeah, no, I
All
think that's a
right.
good plan. And thank you
It-
for all this, because it's a work in progress, and that's
Yeah.
the problems that keeps,
Just
you know, so it's
changes.
gonna,
As soon as we
change.
print it, it changes
Yep.
again.
Yes,
Oh.
and we still are waiting for some revenue
Yes.
thoughts and updates.
Yes. Oh, right, so, everything that we have is the ones conversation.
it was the.
Yes, as we're holding off on admissions from other states. So, I'll give you some background on why the warrant conversation is here. And there is. Where is it, Phil? It is in here, it's worth, I find it helpful to have the policy in front of us.
Is this one, or is it?
Yes,
You
EGA.
Mm-mm.
want me to put it up on
It'd be great. Thanks, Adam. There it is.
So it is our responsibility as the school committee to sign off on expenses and to approve expenses, I should say, generally to approve expenses. So this policy was crafted quite a while ago to sort of establish and then have underneath it legal references in terms of how we follow up on that responsibility. There are two types of warrants. One is the payroll warrant, which is every 2 weeks. It's on a very tight timeline.
Yes.
But the way the law is written is they're not gonna hold up payroll because of a
Right.
time lag on
Right.
signatures.
Exactly.
I see that at work, and it's also in the case here in town. I suspect there are times that Jess is putting out the call on Wednesday to get all the paperwork and she's finishing it, maybe 10 minutes before the deadline.
I think
2 minutes,
I-
1 minute, 30
yes,
seconds.
Yes,
before the
maybe 30
deadline.
seconds.
So, we're not likely to be signing off on the warrant before it goes out, but I think it's still really important for us
Yeah.
to review it.
Totally.
We can either, so what we had been doing is all been getting a DocuSign email
Mhm.
a week
I
or
haven't
2
been
weeks in
getting
arrear. It has been going to your school email address,
Oh.
which you may never check. You may never have opened it, but you
Right.
do have a school email.
I didn't know that.
So we could ask them to change it, but,
I was thinking I was just getting lucky.
and what we've been finding
kidding.
as we've been
Might be
doing
too.
that, we actually have in a lot of cases not had we've only had 2 school committee members regularly signing the warrant, and the payroll warrant we're getting way in arrears anyway. And then with accounts payable, we're supposed to officially authorize that, whatever our policy is, before they're paid. There's been a bit of a gap there. I think it's state law that we have to approve it as a department before those vendors are paid. We haven't quite, our procedure hasn't been great on this. And sometimes it's us, sometimes it's that we're not getting the warrant until much later.
Well, I don't
So
know
knowing
anything
all
about
of
these
that-
warrants. I was getting warrants from ages ago from the whole town. And I said, what am I supposed to be doing with these?
You have to
Nobody-
dig through for the school ones and
I
look at the
didn't-
school ones.
And he said, don't take any more from me. And I said, okay, I won't. And I never got another email. So I don't
We
know.
also switched accountants and, fairly recently, and I think at least Kelly had been sending it, but
They
But-
stopped recently.
yes, there was a discussion, at least between Kelly, our town accountant, and David, about how they really wanted the school to act as a department of the town, which means that we sign off before the sheet goes to,
Hmm.
so we're actually not signing the warrant itself. We're signing what's being submitted to be included on the warrant.
Like a
So-
requisition.
Hmm?
It's like a requisition. We're signing off on that.
Yeah,
The permission
So
to have it on a warrant.
the submit,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mm.
That
is so different than our regional district. So
so,
we're a department, yeah.
Mhm.
yeah, we are a
Yeah.
department.
Mhm.
And it means that, and I sort of understand why it would work for Kelly, and it also means that we're not getting the whole warrant for the whole town and having to weed through for the part that's just us. That's another advantage for us. So I think that it may be time for us to talk about maybe designating
Yes.
one or two or one
Yes.
person in a backup to sign off on them, but I think it's really important that when we have that discussion, that we be aware that we all need to have the information, we all need to look at that information.
Right.
And
What
probably as
was-
timely as reasonable.
Yeah, what listen, Justin, we were meeting, I can't even remember, I think it was last night. And we were thinking maybe you could designate 1 or 2 folks who do it along with me on Thursday morning. And then at the following school committee, we could have a print everybody could read through the print and then also sign.
Yeah, or at least,
Yeah.
or at least have access to the
So help me
information.
out on this, Diana, because I'm not familiar with this piece. So in a regional school district, you can have a committee of, like I had like 18 on a school committee. We designated 4 people. And so they would literally go in, and that was their responsibility to sign it. But like you're saying, everyone's responsibility was to review it and so forth, but they didn't have to sign it. Is that still the same for a department that we could designate a couple people to sign on our
Yep, and
behalf?
it's in, and it is actually in our policy.
Here? And our policy is consistent with the.
Yes,
Okay.
and the state law is below it if you want.
Well, I started reading that, but it didn't seem like it was.
The biweekly payroll will be certified as correct and signed or digitally authorized as approved by payment by the chair or designated member of the school committee as established by the chair.
For municipal. Okay.
And then the bill schedule will be certified as correct and signed or digitally authorized as approved for payment by a majority of the school committee or a designated member of the school committee. So we can designate for both types of payments.
Is that, no, I'm just thinking, so we set up our structure, we have a chair, we have a vice chair, we have a secretary. We don't have, sound like a clerk, I'm trying to think, is that supposed, should that be a role? When we each have our little, silos of responsibility, should that be a role of one of those? Should it be
I
the
have
clerk?
to say that I would
No.
actually recommend that we assign it to a person, because particularly
That's
with the
what- yeah.
timeliness and the digital nature of it, who's most comfortable with that's gonna change.
Well, let me ask this, who's most accessible? Who's
I'll tell you who
daily
tends to
life?
sign it most quickly. Miranda.
Okay,
Yeah,
I'm fine with that, because you need, that's important, you're right, you look at.
and I've signed it after her, but sometimes not that far afterwards, and I've seen some warrants that we've been the only 2 that have signed it.
The other thing about Diana and Miranda, they are both on the budget.
Working on it.
Subcommittee.
So they
working
know
on-
more about it.
They know a little bit more.
So if you want to entertain a motion, I'll make it, but if you want to make a.
You can make a motion.
So I would make a motion then that we designate Diana, right, and Miranda to sign, well, there's 2 things. They're gonna be signing the warrant and they're gonna be signing, what's that document?
Well, actually, it would be the submission. We
The
wouldn't be
submission,
signing-
right,
It wouldn't be
right.
signed.
The submit, but it has a different name, doesn't it, than submission? It's,
I can't remember. what
there's
it
a
says.
name for that,
Her,
for what they're.
cover sheet.
Yeah, for what they're signing, that has,
You're right,
it's
I see.
okay to put this on the warrant, there's a name for that document. I can't
They
remember,
just call
so whatever it is,
I think it's been called a cover sheet in town,
okay,
because it's a cover sheet followed by either timesheets or bills.
okay, then this cover sheet for the submissions. For the items to go on the warrant, is that,
Can I suggest that you just add the word review and sign,
sure,
just for clarity? Thank you.
yeah, no, that's a good point, Brian. Yeah, or come in with blindfolds.
Okay,
So does someone want to second that, and then we can move that along, or?
I'll second it.
So the way it's worded, then that both of us would need to sign before we can submit for accounts payable.
And tell me
well,
about, so what, we can think,
do you want it to be that way, or do you want to just say one of the 2 of you?
I think it may be more practical saying one of the 2 of us, but
I agree,
It's
because
what
there's
the
gonna be
group says.
times that one or both of you may not be.
so I'll take that as a friendly amendment to the motion.
Okay.
That's okay with you?
designate, is that right?
Mhm.
Miranda or Diana to review and sign.
And
cover
or,
sheet.
maybe and or.
And or,
Mhm.
So it could be both of you or.
Yeah.
that's really helpful. Thank you.
Okay. Any further discussion? All right. Uh,
All's
I'll
in
take a
favor?
vote. All in favor?
I,
Aye. So that is unanimous.
Mm.
Thank you, Miranda.
Yeah.
thank you, Brenda.
While you're taking notes, you can take notes. It's a responsibility you've got.
So we didn't have to do anything, this was just to remind us what the policy was, we didn't have to do
Yeah.
anything to the policy,
No.
okay,
No, it was a guiding one.
okay. And does this satisfy the people that were having issues?
Yes, I think so.
Yes, it means that we'll be signing off on it before it lands with them.
Yeah.
And so when does that have to happen, like a day,
Thursday.
every Thursday?
Everything
Well,
happens Thursday.
Every Thursday?
Happens every Thursday. Sweeping of payroll is every other Thursday. There's an AP every Thursday.
Every Thursday?
Yeah,
So
So
then,
you're signing one or two documents,
Sometimes.
sometimes two?
Sometimes.
Sometimes
two.
one,
Yeah.
yep, okay.
and then were you saying you were gonna bring it, a written
Yes.
form to
Yes.
the meeting?
yeah.
And everybody signs, but that doesn't, time-wise, it doesn't matter, because you've got the first two
Right.
signatures. Okay,
Right.
Well, at that point, we don't have to sign it, but
No.
we should review
We
it.
should review it.
okay.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, we
we'll
haven't,
get
we
it-
haven't, we haven't put into policy that, but we have to have to collect signatures or anything. It's just, but it should certainly be available for all of you. And if I sign it and it's available electronically, and I'll make it so Miranda can too, we can also keep it in a shared folder.
Hmm.
So that if anybody ever wants to go back in a backlog, we don't have to go to Jess, we'll have it in a shared folder. We can
Be
just
wonderful.
pull it out.
Thank you.
So the ones that I've signed on the warrants up to date, I keep in a shared folder,
That's
and I've got them.
Thank you.
It's just not all of them. So what I will do also as a follow-up is I will ask Kelly and Melissa to help me get the backlog or anything folks haven't seen. So that we can just get caught up, just to look at it, so we know it's there.
And then are we keeping them all in a notebook here, or are they do they go up here in a notebook to Ryan?
They go electronic.
Have an electronic copy.
Everything's electronic?
Mm-mm.
That's interesting, because
Yeah.
the select board stuff is also. Okay,
Yeah, but eventually it makes
not
its
all the
way
bills and
into,
everything, I mean, there's a folder, you know, that
Right.
everything's in.
What happens is that everything's on paper
Right.
and then it gets scanned.
So that was my
Yeah.
question, so there's a
Sorry.
notebook that has all that in it.
Yeah,
yeah,
Right, that,
Yeah.
there's a physical copy that resides with a date on it. in
yes,
somebody's-
with Jess. Jess has that.
Okay,
I'm gonna add that as a
yes.
Add what?
standing agenda item, we can just sign.
Yeah.
Cover sheet.
Good idea.
And then we're not, so JFBC is what buses, what, the lawyers are still looking at.
Okay.
Oh, well, number 11 is next meeting dates, and we had put tentative next to the 12th, but given where we are with the budget, I would recommend that we hold the meeting on the 12th.
Yes.
That's what's on here.
Well, it said tentative, and I'm basically
Oh,
suggesting we
yeah.
cross off the tentative and see if
I agree.
Yeah, get
I
that
do
one.
agree.
Yeah, we're totally up.
Draft about the, tuition agreement with
Yes,
Pioneer.
This is something, that I gave to Patricia, and she and her having a meeting about it Friday. I'm not anticipating she's gonna say yes, but if she would, it would be a workaround to the choice issue.
But they are
So-
still, but they still have, yeah,
So.
they do
when-
have an overseer who's going to strongly discourage them, is my
Yeah.
suspicion.
Oh, really?
Yes. That's what happened last time.
Well, it seems like that's shooting themselves in the foot because, we used to funnel a lot of students there.
Right.
And I guess I don't even understand how this would even work, because when do we have to declare to DESI whether we're gonna take any choice students in?
April.
April, and then,
There's another opportunity to ask again in July or something, where I have to do.
There's 2
this.
dates, October and April.
There's something in the summer, remember the survey? the survey.
We're talking about Desi?
The DESI survey about whether or not we're gonna take choice students.
So we'd have to
Sometime
have
in
this all set by April.
Yes.
Yes.
Is that a possibility if they were?
It's
I
pretty.
thought you were saying that at one point Desi wouldn't even allow them to do this.
That's what they told me.
But the reason, Janice, was they're under an overseer. So the overseer decides their finances.
So they're
until-
out.
So I don't know if they're
No,
out yet.
no, they're still under.
They're still there. So they had the power.
They hired their
Yeah.
existing
Anything
overseer,
over
so they had,
$25,000.
but they did have to get another
Yeah,
overseer.
anything over $25,000 Desi weighs, whether it be a contract or whatever they're doing. So this obviously was gonna be over that, so they had the power to say yes or no. Given their financial situation and they're being overseen, they said no. My concern is that it's gonna stretch to, if we want to, have an agreement with another district and they agree to something significantly less or less. Desi's going to be
Not like that either.
now saying, now extrapolating that and saying, no, I don't think. And I don't think they should have the power to do that. That should be from school committee to school committee, and if that happens, then we'll have to challenge that.
If that happens, we talk to a lawyer.
Cause that, I could see that potentially unfolding that way.
Yes.
I
Because
just
it'll say,
wondered
"Oh, well,
if we
now
did get
if
it
you make
clear
a better
whether
deal
we'd
with
even be
another
in
district,
time for this,
financiers
because
gonna
this is a
lose.
1-year
We don't
thing.
want that to happen.
And it,
Right,
So I don't know.
right.
I hope.
Yeah. No, I mean,
It was
that-
just my latest stab at the solution.
it would
yeah,
be
the time frame originally
Yeah.
was up to 10 years with the overseer.
real.
With the, with Desi having the, go back.
I don't know if they've got a good oversight.
It's 10 years.
The overseer?
Yeah.
Gosh, that's a long time.
I thought it was
I never
3
heard
years.
Yeah, it was in the articles from the special legislation to let them strike that one part of the, with the loan, because they were stretching the loan.
Oh, because of the loan they
Yeah.
were doing.
It was all one package, all went for 10
Mm.
years. Now, there is language that Desi could say that they didn't need the overseer in full 10 years, but that was the default, was 10 years.
How much does an overseer cost?
It's getting expensive, it's more expensive now. I did not know that. Wow.
It's
It was, I thought
such a wreck.
it is, it's like you don't have money, so you gotta pay somebody.
Right.
And then they hardly do anything, except for tell you no.
Yeah,
once
it's
in a
part-time
while.
collecting a check.
Yeah, and they happen to be a former superintendent.
Mhm.
Yeah, well, it's good friends with everybody, Desi.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yep.
It's a good deal.
Well, the last one they had, I really liked and got good advice from. I hope they have the same luck with the next one. And I think I think it's costing them less now than it did when they first started, because I think they're putting less time in.
No, you might be right about
But-
that, yeah.
But still, yeah, I think it started at like 45,000. I think it went down after that.
So it's around 25, I thought. Hmm.
Well, I really like the Pioneer presentation.
Yeah, they did a nice job.
Yeah.
I was very excited. They're enthusiastic. It sounds like they're really doing good things.
Yeah,
I agree.
no, and they're starting a lot of new things too, so
Yes. But see,
I
like,
would love
they
to have them back in a year and see how it's going.
Yeah.
Can we we talked about a tour, do we take 6th graders and go on a tour of the place?
Yeah.
Here's what it looks like now.
Mhm.
Mm.
Or
And
6th
their
and
parents.
5th. We've got so
Yeah.
few
And their
kids.
parents.
I can actually, yeah. It's like when we do the tech tour.
Right.
And I think I did, when I was in 6th grade, I went to a tour of Pioneer. Or so, to go into 7th grade.
You did?
Yeah, it was a long time ago. It's 90s.
Oh.
My
so
daughter
long ago.
graduated in 91, I think.
Well, you think about it, it doesn't sound that long ago, and then you go, we're in 2025.
I know,
I know.
And you're like, oh, that was like
Yeah.
years ago.
yeah.
Yeah,
It was-
it's all,
You're like, oh,
so
Weird, it gets weirder and weirder as you get older.
It sure does.
It's like you start thinking about what was going on when I was alive and aware, and it's like, oh my gosh.
So any topics for next meeting? Other than ones we've already mentioned, we know we've put out some budget things until then,
And it's only a week away.
it's only a week away.
And it's not a holiday. It's
Bye, Brian. Thanks for coming.
Oh,
Um,
no,
the holiday-
I was gonna suggest putting, summer program on there. If not next meeting, the meeting after. So we can, I know Janice and Diana have been working on it.
That sounds good.
President's Day's not
Okay.
until later in February, so. I
Part of
guess no
February
holidays.
vacation.
Yes, yeah, so
I'm
we're
just
Anyone?
checking. Wait.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Brian.
Any suggestions to Monday?
The out of state tuition, hopefully.
Is that a
You
good
ready?
one to, go ahead.
Oh.
Is that a good one to do an update to the committee on your evaluation or your midterm? What do you
Boy,
think?
that's fast.
Well, is it light? I'm thinking it's light, but no, if it is, then don't.
Be right after vacation. That's okay. Thanks.
There's something else. If I think of it, I'll certainly let you know. Monday will be here before we know it. And can you make it next week? I know there was one somewhere along the way you can't make it.
I can't make it to the 26th, so
Nope.
somebody
Alright.
will have to post where it exists. They will not be,
Post and host?
yeah, it will be neither. For the
26.
That's right. I remember you saying that now after February vacation. Yep.
And then how does this, Adam, would it be possible to, how would this line up with, the budget calendar? Because those are additional meetings, or we're doing these within these meetings?
We're gonna try and do them within.
Okay, perfect. All right. So we have that. Because that's coming, there's a public hearing or something coming up.
In March. I don't have that right off the top of my head yet.
I don't know if it might be
We-
helpful to have that.
Yeah, can we put the public hearing on there?
Yeah, when. What is it, what are you thinking?
We've got a timeline. I just
Yeah,
don't have it.
there's a budget timeline, and just so that we,
You want me to shoot an email to remind you?
Yeah, that sounds great.
because we have the posting requirements and
Yep.
newspaper notification and all that
Yep.
stuff.
No.
Newsletter.
We've got one timeline with all in it, but I. Anything else related to, oh. No, that's not it. Related to schedule or topics for next week or unanticipated like that.
No, unless it's necessary, it'd be nice to have the, the primary thing, the budget. And then any other things that. When's the next presentation by a staff? We don't have anything in the hopper right now, right? Or do we?
Stephen was reminding me that he talked to you, come back and talk about the latest data. How it has driven us, the thing is, no one has talked to you math. And Libby is very, very strong in this particular math program. You also haven't had a chance to meet her.
So that might be good.
Those are two
Yeah.
choices.
Was that enough time for her to?
Maybe for the, do we want to think about maybe for the 26th?
Yes, or,
Yeah, after.
even the one after.
Okay.
Just okay. How does that what Steve, how do you are you interested in sort of hearing and data update?
Yeah, and kind of give him a. Time frame, to be fair to him, and,
Yeah, yeah.
so that he's not
Well, if it's
our presentation, but
Yeah,
tell,
If it's
the things that he
data,
thinks are
probably
most
won't
important.
take as long.
Yeah.
right. He's
I'm wondering if
he's
maybe
getting-
if we meet with him a little bit more frequently, he can keep them shorter.
yes.
Yeah.
It-
And he can always just participate by
Yeah.
video,
Yes.
he doesn't have to come here.
Well, he's usually here when we start.
Oh.
But it's Stephen and Libby.
Adam, what are those things you gave him?
Called Thieves Contra,
Thieves?
Thieves.
Thieves.
Steve.
THIEVE.
He makes a hand sanitizer. I
Yeah,
still have some of
okay.
that.
So
What do you
Thieves is a blend, it's funny, it's an essential oil blend that the that the grave robbers put on themselves during the bubonic plague to go not catch the stuff.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh, that's
And-
why it's thieves.
that's why it's
That's
the,
good. Wow,
yeah, but
okay,
it's an essential oil blend and the cough drops are from the company that my wife does some of the essential oils from.
that's cool.
Yeah.
You want to entertain motion to adjourn, because we're.
Yes, I think we're ready. I
I
think we're ready. If
Move
there's,
that we adjourn.
Second,
all in favor?
aye.
Aye.